By modern standards, this was a box office bomb, but it's a Hammer movie that they rarely talk about, no matter what the title you go by. Now, I saw it as The Devil's Bride, but in other jurisdiction, it's called The Devil Rides Out. Now, it came out in 1968. It was based on a 1934 novel of the same name by the great Dennis Wheatley. The screenplay was written by, get this, Richard Matheson and directed by Terence Fisher. Christopher Lee played the iconic lead character with Charles Gray, Nikki Arahi, and Leon Green, not Lorne Green, as these co-stars. It is considered one of Terence Fisher's best films. It was also the final film to be produced by Seven Arts Productions after the company was merged with Warner Brothers to become Warner Brothers Seven Arts on July 15, 1967. Now, set in London in the south of England in 1929, the story finds Hero-like Nicholas, Duc de Richelieu, played by Lee, investigating the strange actions of his protege, the son of a late friend, Simon Aaron, played by Patrick Moore, who has a house replete with strange markings and a pentagram. He quickly deduces that Simon is involved with the occult. De Richelieu and his friend Rex Van Ryn, played by Green, manage to rescue Simon and another young initiate, Tanith, played by Nikki Arai, from a devil-worshipping cult. During the rescue, they disrupt a May Day ceremony on Salisbury Plain, in which the devil appears under the guise of the Goda Mendez. They escape to the country home of de Richelieu's niece, Marie, played by Sarah Lawson, and her husband, Richard Eaton, played by Paul Eddington. They are followed by the group's leader, Mokata, Charles Gray, who has a psychic connection to two initiates. After visiting the house while de Richelieu was absent to discuss the matter and an unsuccessful attempt to influence the initiates to return, Mokata forces de Richelieu and the other occupants to defend themselves through a night of black magic attacks, ending with the conjuring of the Angel of Death. De Richelieu repels the angel, but it kills Tanith instead. As one summoned, it must take a life. His attacks defeated, the Mokata kidnaps Eaton's young daughter, Peggy, played by Rosalind Landor. The Duke has Tanith's spirit possess Marie in order to find Mokado, but he only are able to get a single clue, and Rex realizes that the cultists are at a house he visited earlier. Simon tries to rescue Peggy on his own, but he is recaptured by the cult. De Richelieu, Richard, and Rex also try to rescue her, but they are defeated by Mokada. Suddenly, a powerful force, or Tanith herself, controls Marie and ends Peggy's trance. She then leads Peggy in a recitation of a spell, which visits divine retribution upon the cultists and transforms their coven room into a church. Now, here where the controversy goes in. In the midst of the late 1960s, you saw a lot of these devil-worshipping momentum as part of the hippie movement and on the big and small screen. And this is where it got controversial. Now, when the Duke and his companions awakened, they discovered that a spell has reversed time and changed the future in their favor. Simon and Tanith have survived, and Mokata's spell to conjure the Angel of Death has been reflected back on him. Divine judgment ends his life, and he's subject to eternal damnation for his unholy summoning of the Angel of Death. De Richelieu comments that it is God to whom they must be thankful. That's where it got controversial, because you're mixing the devil and God, like Christianity and Satanism, in the same show. Now, produced by Anthony Nelson Keys, with cinematography by the great Arthur Grant, music by James Bernard, distributed by Warner Pathé in the UK and 20th Century Fox in the US. Came out in July in the UK and December in 68 in the US. 95 minutes with a budget of about £285,000, which is around close to $1 million Canadian. The box office very strong in France with 276 admissions. Now, I saw this movie twice. I saw the edited version and the full version, and it really scared the shit out of me because the censorship of the movie stopped this from being produced in 1963. By the late 60s, censorship was more lax. It was first proposed again in 1963, where censorship worries over Satanism had ease. Production began on 7 August 1967, and the film starred Lee in a rare heroic role, Gray, Arai, and Green. The screenplay was adapted again by Matheson, and Lee has often stated that of his vast back catalog of films, this was his favorite and the one he would have liked to have seen remade with modern special effects, and he was playing a mature Duc de Richelieu. In a later interview, Lee also stated that Wheatley was so pleased with the adaptation of his book that he gave the actor a first edition of the novel. Now, the A side of British rock band's Icarus debut single, The Devil Rides Out, was inspired by the advance publicity for the film of the same name. Though the song does not appear in the film, the single's release was timed like I was saying, the singles release was timed to coincide with the film's premiere, and the band was invited to their premiere. Now, unlike other Hammer films, The Devil Rides Out has little sexual or violent content. The film's tone is more serious than in many other Hammer films. Now, Paul Leggett, in his study of Terence Fisher's films, describes The Devil Rides Out, despite its occult themes, as a total conquest of Christianity over the forces of evil. Now, Leggett sees the film's script drawing inspiration from the works of Charles Williams and C.S. Lewis, in addition to Wheatley's novel. The film portrays in a serious manner a spiritual reality underlying the physical universe and the skeptics of the supernatural becoming unwitting allies of evil. Now, the movie bombed. It didn't make a big splash in the States, where a lot of the Hammer films under Lee were doing good money. Now, Professor Peter Hutchins stated the film has noticeable paternalistic themes. The struggle between good and evil is set up with the older male savant authority figures, Duke de Richelieu and Mikado, while the younger characters are incapable of defending themselves without subjecting to their authorities. Now, reviews of the film have been widely favorable. It currently has a 93% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. According to Variety, director Terence Fisher has a ball with a slice of black magic. He has built up a suspenseful pick with several tough highlights and gets major effect by playing the subject dead straight and getting similar serious performances from his capable cast. Lee is for once on the side of the goodies. Now, some people didn't like it. According to one reviewer, a disappointingly routine version of Wheatley's black magic thriller. Some people said the script was long-winded. Now, according to Fox Records, the film required, at the time, 1.15 million rentals to break even, but by December 1970, it only made $575,000. Now, it's probably got his money back on TV, but that's not the point of box office. Now, why would this was so controversial, rarely seen on TV and rarely talked about? Because you think Hammer, you think Cushing versus Lee, you think Dracula, you think Frankenstein, or what we call the universal tropes. But this one, satanic movies were getting more and more common back then, and the Satanists would win. But this was the one of the first, and I think the only UK one where the devil, in such a major movie, or the satanic forces, are defeated by just, deduction. Now, people were going to the movies to see Satanism. That night gallery had an underlying Satanism. Sammy Davis Jr. was into Satanism. It was a cool thing to do. Anton LaVey and all that. But this is kind of a different take because it's a Christian movie. Because good overcomes evil, but it's not really a Christian movie like you see that crackpot QAnon movie that's out now there, where they make it up as they go along. This is like pure black magic versus white magic. We all know white magic is on the side of Jesus. So if you like Hammer, give it a chance. You may not like it because there's no sex, there's no blood sucking. It's like, it's like The Haunting. There's this creeping terror. But all I know is, ladies and gentlemen, every Hammer movie that I could see back in the day on show TV or late night on CBC or CTV, they would show it as well. I never saw this. I only started seeing this probably on Canadian pay-per-view channels back in the mid-'80s. And the horror, what I call the 1980s Canadian horror era. But this is more for an intellectual person that believes in God, but believes in sensible Christianity to defeat evil and not like, showy, Christianity. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's our latest Hammer review. If you like what we're doing here with our different look back at the Hammer universe, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And shares are very important, ladies and gentlemen, because it not only increases hits in the channel, it brings more people in. We've had a marked increase with our subscribers in recent months. We've gone up about 10%, which is amazing. I think so many people across North America really appreciate my Hammer podcast. If there's any Hammer movie we haven't done yet, we've done a few, still more to go. Let us know, and your specific memories of seeing these Hammer films, either at like a midnight theater or on TV or in translation. Like in Canada, we saw them in French and Portuguese. So let us know. And don't forget, Christopher Lee, just like Max von Sydow, when you were in movies like this, it was an automatic draw. That's what he had Max von Sydow in The Exorcist. You would have got Christopher Lee, but probably couldn't afford him. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, New Brunswick Day weekend. Have a great time. Bye.